from doing what you love. Take charge of your health and get back into the game with the help of the all-pro staff at Baptist Health Orthopedic Care. All right. Anthony, good morning. How are you doing, my man?
I'm doing good, Big O. I'm not in Milwaukee anymore. I have my café con leche.
There you go.
I'm a happy man now. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So, tell us about tonight's start of season basketball tournament.
You're not excited? This is
Yeah,
huge.
no, I'm exhilarated. I'm just enthralled. I can't wait. I've got my popcorn ready. Okay, I've got my flags ready. I've got the car all dressed up. This morning. So when I cruise around, it's got in-tournament flags and all that.
Are you going to Bird Road if they win tonight to celebrate?
And everything if they beat the Wizards tonight and advance in the in-season tournament.
Yeah.
The only thing I'm looking forward to tonight is the damn floor.
Right. That'll be interesting. I want to see how it looks, right? I want to see how it looks on TV, in person.
Right. That's it.
I don't know. I mean, it looks cool, but is it going to be like tough to watch for 48 minutes of basketball? We'll see. But
it's tough to watch for 48 minutes of basketball. It kind of goes with the theme right now. 1-4. That's tough to watch, bro.
Yeah, especially the brand of basketball they're playing. I mean, the in-season tournament, look, you ask players, some guys say the politically correct thing of like, yeah, it'll be interesting. I think eventually it'll be good. It's going to be good for the league. But
apparently
these guys just
got a memo to the players, not the
right.
Okay.
These guys just want to win game at this point, especially the Heat. They just want to win a game. It doesn't matter if it's the in-season tournament, out-of-season tournament, play-in tournament. It doesn't matter. They need to win games. So that's, I think, probably the last thing on their mind right now. But yeah, tonight is the start of.
You can't lose this game.
You can't.
It's not that, again, 1-5 is still not the end of the world in an 82-game schedule. You can still come back from that. But the malaise that's just around. And by the way, you're not playing a good team again today.
No, this is
world beater either. And you gave up a lead again. Like the other night when the only victory you have, you barely hung on to a 19-point lead in the only victory you have. Again, hard to watch.
Yeah, the Wizards are arguably the worst team in basketball right now. I think the second worst defense, below average offense, rebuilding. The Heat need to win tonight. I know it's early, but you fall to 1-5. Then with the Lakers, that's not going to be an easy game. It's a winnable game, but not an easy game to close the homestand. Then you go 9 of 10 on the road after that. Woo. This could get ugly really quick. They need to win tonight. They cannot afford to lose this game and dig the hole even deeper. And look, I know they've dug out. Last season they started 2-5. I think they've had slow starts, but I will say that I am concerned. There are very concerning signs with the way they're playing, with the way certain players look, the roster construction. I think there are. I'm not saying they're not going to make the playoffs. I think they will make the playoffs, but I think there are reasons to be concerned.
I told Ira this yesterday. I'm not concerned yet. I'm just insulted. I'm just insulted that you don't give a shit about the regular season. I'm insulted that your best player just coasts through the regular season, and there's a reason why you were a lower seed, because your star takes off a quarter of the season, and you're going to lose most of those games, when he is out, like you just did when he was out the other night. And so to me, because 1-4 doesn't put me in a panic mode yet. Sure. I think maybe 1-7, 1-8, maybe I start getting in a panic mode at that point now, because now you're really digging yourself in a monster hole. And now, I see, I'm not ready to say, oh, this team is just worse than last year's team, because Spoelstra hasn't really dug in yet. And there's 82 games. And I just said it before you came on. Who the fuck is better at developing players in a team than the Miami Heat and Eric Spoelstra?
Definitely.
Nobody.
Yeah, right.
Nobody comes close in this town to doing that. Only Larinaga comes close in this town to doing what the Heat does all the time, because he does it all the time, with his teams too. And he turns over his roster like crazy, and he's able to do it. I mean, he's magnificent, bro. And so that's what I'm saying. That's what I was trying to give credit to the Dolphins offensive line coaches. They actually can develop people nowadays. They actually can develop an offensive line and backups and all that. So that's why I'm not in the mood. I'm not ready to panic yet because I know we have the best chef in the kitchen. There in our restaurant. But when you talk to them, do they bullshit you about actually caring about this? Do you actually think they care about this? I know the coaches. Like I told Ira yesterday, I know Spolstra and Riley care about this shit.
Yeah.
It's like, I was. You're young, but you know about this, right? You remember when Bird and Dr. J grabbed each other by the throat in a game?
Yeah.
That was a November game.
Right. No, I know.
November.
Yeah.
And they're going
times are different these days. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so 80s, 90s basketball meant something from beginning to end. So in November, December, and January, when you said it was Lakers Celtics, it was Pistons Celtics, it was whatever it was, Pistons Heat. I don't care what it was in the 80s or the 90s. It was going to be intense. And that, like, it was must-see TV back in those days. They have put regular season, basketball into, it's no longer must-see TV anymore. That's a shame, dude. It really is.
I do think that the 1-4 start has caught the Heat's attention. Jimmy, who ever since he got here, his whole message after losses has been, well, it's a long season. We don't overreact. We don't panic. We'll be okay. We're going to win the championship. You know how Jimmy is. Last game, he was asked about the sense of urgency with his team and the balance between finding that sense of urgency, but also understanding there's still a long way to go. He said, we're in a right now situation. We need to win games right now. I think they understand that this is the worst 5-game start in Heat history since 2008, since Pat Riley's last year. Worst 5-game start in Spoelstra's career. It's very early, but
that was the year that everybody got injured and everybody was on the IR, right?
Yeah. So that was a rough year for I think that was the year they might have
cold. You're on the IR. Hangnail, you're on the IR.
That was the Beasley year? Is that the year they got Beasley after that?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That year they put anybody and everybody possible on the IR. Yeah. It didn't matter it didn't matter.
Yeah. I think they understand that the schedule is not easy coming up. They have some winnable games, but again, 9 of 10 on the road after this homestand. They need to win these next 2 home games. They really do. And I know they made it to the finals last year, and everyone will turn back to that and what they did in the playoffs. But over a large sample size last season, we know that their offense was not good. It was one of the worst in the NBA. And this is not the same roster, but a lot of the key components are the same. You're missing Gabe and Max, but a lot of the key components are the same. They don't have the personnel for an above average offense. The best they could probably hope for is just having an average offense. Right now, I think they're 3rd or 4th worst in offense. That's just who this team is. They need to be elite on defense, win close games, which they set a record for most wins by 5 points or less last season, just to win games. And they set that record, of most wins by 5 points or less, and they only made the play-in. So,
but they don't have the people to be elite on defense.
That's why I'm concerned, because I don't know. Last year they were top 10 in defense. The year before, when they were the 1 seed, they had a little bit of a better offense. They were like 13th, which is like great for this personnel, but they had a top 5 defense. That's why they were the 1 seed. Can they be a top 10 defense again? Erik Spoelstra has proven year after year he can make the top 10 defense out of anybody, right? Whether it's turning to zone for a record amount of times or just developing guys, throwing out different lineups, creative lineups. But I don't know. This is his toughest test. Can he make a top 10 defense with this roster? Because that's how they're going to need to win games. If they don't have a top 10 defense, I don't know how they're above 500, honestly. I really don't. I know that's crazy to say, but they don't have the offense to make up for an average defense. They just don't. So that
Well,
that is why I'm really concerned this time.
Bam will become that star.
Yeah, I mean, Bam is off to a good start, right? Bam and Tyler off to good starts.
I want
Yeah,
to give him. I want to give him credit. He is playing offensively like he wants to be more aggressive. I
yeah.
have noticed that.
Bam and
So I
Tyler
give
off
him
to really
credit
good
on.
starts. And that's an
Yeah,
encouraging sign. Yeah,
Tyler will never be a great defender, but I do love that he is on an offensive tear. You can tell he's got a little something. There's a fire under his ass right now to score. And I'll give Bam some credit. Bam is looking much more aggressive
yeah,
on offense. The problem is it kind of started that way last year too for a few, and then it faded out, and he went back to being Bam Adebayo.
yeah,
And so I want to see if he can actually maintain it and take it to another level, actually, because brother, the guy that leads this team isn't getting any younger. And so
right.
the two young stars or young guys, those guys at one point or another have to step up and become a star, you know?
Yeah, that's it. It's going to be important, especially in the regular season, for those two guys to continue playing at this level. They kind of need to, right? That there's
Yes.
nowhere if they don't, like, yeah, I don't know how they do it. Because another reason to be concerned is Jimmy. I mean, Jimmy, it's early. He's still working himself into shape. He didn't play in the preseason. I get it. He's shooting under 40%. But why I'm concerned is he's on the injury report for knee tendonitis, right knee tendonitis, which the right knee is the knee that's been giving him issues for the past few years.
Yeah.
And Jimmy hasn't exactly looked like himself early on, whether it's because of the knee or because he's not in regular season shape yet or whatever. I don't know. But the fact that he's on the injury report now for the right knee issue, that's concerning this early in the year. I mean, the season just started. We're in week 2. So again, I'm not panicking, but I do think there are reasons to be concerned, and I'm really interested to see how Eric Spoelstra makes adjustments to maximize this roster. And yes, Caleb Martin's return will help. Haywood Highsmith's return last game, that you already saw the benefits of that. He's going to play more minutes, I'm sure, moving forward. But yeah, I think Eric, a lot is on Eric Spoelstra's shoulders right now to figure this out.
What's up with Caleb Martin?
He has lingering knee pain. In the off season, he tweaked his knee. They're calling it knee tendinosis. Kind of lingered into training camp, was limited in training camp. Obviously, didn't play most of the preseason. Caleb Martin does not like to miss games. He always wants to play. So he played in the opener. He obviously did not look like himself. He didn't feel like himself. I spoke with him. He's like, yeah, every time I ran, like I did not feel like myself. I think he needed to see that to know that he hasn't played since, right? I think you need to see that he wasn't himself to basically to prove like, okay, I need to rest this. I need to sit out and get this right. And that's what's going on. An MRI was taken, nothing serious found. It was clean. Seems to be a minor issue, but the goal right now is to get him back to being Caleb Martin because in the opener, he was far from it.
Wizards are allowing like 120 points a game or something.
Bad. Yeah. If the Heat's offense doesn't look good tonight, I don't know what to say. This should be a get right game for the Heat, where maybe you turn around the vibes a little bit, you get back on track against a bad team. Yeah, if they lose this one, again, it's only game 6, but that would sound the alarms probably.
By the way, just so you'll know, they've scored 143, 126, and 130 on this team. The one game they won was 113, 106. But outside of that, that's a lot of points. So if Miami stinks it up against this team, then that's some scary stuff. They're favored by 9.
9.5, right? Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
I am not ever comfortable with
No.
I mean, we made a lot of money last year going against the Heat in the regular season by giving a lot of points. And then we made a lot of money the other way by constantly taking the points because they constantly kept obviously surprising teams or keeping it close. And they were great. They're great as the underdog, and then they suck as the heavy favorite. But today they're playing a team that ultimately sucks. You lay the 9 or not?
I'm not. I mean, if there's any game that I would do it, it's probably this one, right? Because it's the Wizards. But I wouldn't only because this Heat team they don't have many blowout wins. How many double-digit wins did they have last year? There weren't many. So I put my money on them not getting a double-digit win. I think they win tonight, but I'm not sure if they cover.
I like you know what the play I like is the over 226.5 because the Heat defense sucks. So they'll allow Washington to score over 100 points. And the Heat offense should be able to score 115, 120 points.
They should. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. And there'll be more possessions than usual because the Heat play slow, but Washington I think they play at the fastest pace in the NBA right now. So it's kind of going to be probably an up and down game. So the Heat, they could score a lot of points tonight. It could be a night where the Heat score 120 something against a bad defense and against a team that plays really fast.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the over in this one instead because the 9 points has me. I happily take the 9 points and take the dog against the Heat every time and pretty much win. But in this case, I think I'm going to go with the over 226.
Yeah, that's a good play. I think that's a good play.
I think that might be the play. How about that? This is the kind of shit you and I could not ask you and talk about 5-10 years ago.
I know. Times have changed.
The Herald would be freaking out. Like, what are you doing? And then the NBA, and then you'll hear from the Heat. What are you guys talking about gambling and all that?
This is for entertainment purposes only, though. I'm just giving you,
it's always for entertainment purposes. That's kind of the idea. We are facilitators of entertainment here. That's what it is. All right, follow him on Twitter at Anthony_Chiang. What do you got going on in the Herald, folks? Tell them.
Yeah, this morning I posted a story with Eric Reed speaking about Dr. Jack. They unveiled the Dr. Jack Memorial Media Center at the Kasaya Center, which is where all the TV and radio broadcasters will broadcast games now. Really cool big pictures of Jack with Eric Reed, with the famous picture of Dr. Jack and Spo when Spo was a kid, when Spo was going to a youth camp in Portland and Dr. Jack was leaving that camp. The different catchphrases of Dr. Jack and different panels on the media center. Leonard, Steffa, all that stuff. Thunder Dan, like all that good stuff. Those good Heat memories. But I never got to meet him, no. But I grew up listening. I mean, my first memory of the Heat growing up in Miami was listening to Eric Reed and Dr. Jack call games. So I remember all those calls. Like, they stick with me. So it was cool to talk to Eric about that, kind of relive some of those memories and just what he meant to Eric. It was a really special relationship. So catch that.
Give you a little Jack story that will freak you out. Okay. Jack Ramsey was one of the nicest human beings you will ever meet. Just want you to know that. I know that you'll hear that from Heat people and all that. It is effing true, bro. Okay. Just a golden human being. All right. Just set the scene for you. And one of the things I used to string for ESPN back in the day, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. Yes, I'm old, folks. I used to make side money by getting the sound, and then I used to have alligator clips, and I would unscrew the mouthpiece of the phone and put them on the two steel things, and then put it to my Marantz cassette deck and send sound to UPI, ABC, AP, all that. And I used to get paid $20, $30, $50 a game by each of them for something, whatever I was doing. Sometimes it would be reports that I would be sending in. One of the things I was hired to do also was for ESPN, I was to be Jack Ramsey's producer.
Wow.
So that he had a main producer at ESPN, and then that producer would then work with me, and I would then follow Jack around to go do interviews pregame, and then I would then send the audio to them, and then when they would do their pregame, then they would play the audio from over there because I sent them the audio. You get it? So, hey, we're going to the Bulls locker room. We're going to talk to Scottie Pippen. We're going to talk to Michael Jordan. We're going to talk to Karl Malone. We're going to talk to, brother, you name it.
Right. Yeah. That's cool. I didn't know that. Wow.
Jack Ramsey, he wants to talk to you. Everybody wants to talk to him, right? So I walk in to the Jazz locker room, okay? And just so, the stories of people sometimes are true, okay? So they had, a point guard. You ever heard of him? John Stockton?
Yeah, I did. I've heard of him.
So we walk up to him, and I'm standing next to Jack, right? And Jack goes, "Hey, John, would you happen to have a minute so we could talk?" "No, sorry, can't do it." Only person I'd ever seen. And those stories that they tell you about John Stockton being an asshole, they're all true.
Wow.
They're all freaking true. And that was the one guy that season that turned down Jack Ramsey. Michael Jordan didn't turn down Jack Ramsey.
But John Stockton did. Yeah.
But John Stockton did.
Wow.
Okay. It didn't matter. Like, you could talk to who was this guy that was kind of difficult, Billy Owens. "Oh, hey, Jack," it didn't matter who it was. They could actually be a little bit off kilter, and
Right.
bro, it's effing Jack Ramsey. You know what I mean? Like, yo, this is like one of the treasures of our league. That's the kind of stuff. That's how everybody looks at Jack. And freaking John Stockton, bro.
That's
Just
crazy.
wanted
Wow.
to be,
Wow.
I post basketball, he's kind of been an asshole anyways, and other things publicly and all that. But so yeah.
I should have interviewed you for the story. I didn't know you had a connection with Dr. Jack. That's
Well, I
cool.
got to connect, bro. I've been at this forever, bro. I've done so many things. It's just under the radar, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, when I used to obviously do a lot, I did the I'm the only guy in the history of this town to have a full-time sports talk show in Spanish and English. Nobody's done that shit.
I did not know that. I didn't know you had a talk show in Spanish.
Yeah, I did La Ensalada Deportiva.
That's talent, because let me tell you, as someone who's bilingual, like, I couldn't write in Spanish, so like people say, "Oh, you can speak both languages."
I can't even talk it anymore.
Yeah.
I'm completely out of practice.
Really?
Completely out of practice, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's that's tough to do.
And I can defend myself, and I can have some kind of a conversation in Spanish. I can do that. I can no longer do a 3-hour talk show like that.
That's what I was gonna say. It's one thing to speak Spanish, but it's another thing to host a show in Spanish. Right?
Bro,
like, that's totally different. So that's talent.
Back in those days, we used to have like the blue book, the black books of the NBA, Major League Baseball, all of that, right? And then they would tell you what hotels everybody was at on the road. They don't do that anymore now. They don't give you. But back again, I've been at this a long time.
Yeah.
So and it's Spanish, right? So I used to call baseball players, and I got Juan Gonzalez. I got Pudge. Like, I would call them, and back in those days, they didn't use aliases either. So I would call the hotel and I would say Ivan Rodriguez, and they would put me forward to the room.
That's incredible.
Ivan, how you doing? My name's Orlando Alzugaray. Yo trabajo para Radio Acción 830 AM aquí in Miami. And, hey, I want to talk to you. Talk a little. Are you willing to do? Yeah. All right. I'll call you back here in an hour. And then I would have the producer call the hotel, call the room, boom, boom, boom. And I would get players that way, dude. Raw, just like that.
Wow.
They had to be Latin, obviously.
Of
but
course,
baseball,
yeah.
But baseball is where I could actually get my Latin.
Dude, that's easy. Yeah, that's easy. Yeah. But no, you can't do that these days, obviously, as you know. Like, that's crazy to hear that was like even possible back then. But times have changed a lot. A lot.
Well, nobody had access to those books. Only us media people have. So then we're the only ones that really knew what.
Yeah, but these days that stuff would spread, like with social media and stuff. Like those books, yeah.
Yeah. The problem is now it's not legitimate media. Now you have too much of the bloggers and the YouTubers, and those people can't be trusted because they're really not legitimate media. They're not going to facilities. They're not there under their watch and then following their rules. And so they can't have the openness that we used to have back in the day.
Yeah, it's a different time for sure.
You can't trust them. Trust people. They're not gonna, not gonna keep the secrets. Unfortunately, it is what it is. All right, Anthony, as always, I appreciate you, my brother. We will catch up next week. We'll see if the Heat start off this tournament in a kick-ass way. Appreciate you, bro.
No problem, Big O. Have a good weekend. Enjoy the tournament.
You got it. We will. Anthony Chiang, baby. Follow him on Twitter, Anthony_Chiang. And don't forget that Baptist Health is the official sports medicine provider for the Miami Heat, Miami Dolphins, Florida Panthers, InterMiamiCF, FIU, FAU, Orange Bowl, Miami-Dade County Public Schools, Miami Open Tennis, Miami Marathon, and half marathons.